about it, but
know a little bit more. We say hi to each other, and he's very friendly, and he's out every morning too.
It's mid-30s.
yeah, there you go, Jerry.
Mid-30s.
That's about right.
Yes.
Well, I'm dating those 29-year-olds. So.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
I look like I'm.
You in on that?
mid-30s,
Not
right?
yet.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Good answer. You're laughing? What?
Well, I was assuming that, that's what I was asking,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't actually finish, I was
say
writing
whatever you
I
want.
didn't
Lord,
know
I'm
I'm saying it,
just-
I thought it was crazy, but.
I knew you might.
So that's oh my God.
Oh my God.
I was writing in the.
Plus, I had the lab rats so quickly.
Somebody's got no.
All right.
Hi,
It is 6 o'clock. At this time, we will begin our pre-meeting, and we will begin with roll call, please.
Mayor Hay,
Present.
Commissioner Howell,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Watson,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer is absent, Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Goss,
Present.
all commission members present with the exception of Commissioner Strayer.
Okay, at this time, I will turn it over to our city administrator, Greg Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item we have tonight is a presentation by a community member who has an idea for a volunteer group. I believe that's Mr. Tokars, who's present with us tonight for a change. It's been a while. We have your PowerPoint, I think, available. So if you want to have Michelle scroll through it as you talk.
Okay.
To do that.
Thank you.
If you're comfortable standing at the end by the PowerPoint, that'd be good.
So basically, I've spoken out about street lighting in the past. I think we got street lighting downtown, and I think Maumee Street also has street lights. I'm not sure how those street lights got there. We go to the next slide. What I was looking to do is, I know we do have a blight problem, and we've talked about blight in the past. And I think, like if you have a retail business, you have an anchor tenant, and that anchor tenant is what draws everybody in. So I tried to come up with a program that would help to draw people in, and that's what this is based off of. So it'd be resident-based community programming and discover, engage, challenge, and achieve, with the end result being that we could work towards eventually working on blight in the city. Next slide. The Fireflies is a proposed community engagement initiative that will focus on bringing Adrian residents and stakeholder partners together to design, plan, install, maintain a plug-and-play solar streetlight program in the city. Once established, the program would evolve and take on other initiatives to address distressed housing needs in the city. So basically, I want to get residents involved. So in order for this to work, I would have to come back to you with some things. And one of those things would be to have an anchor group, community group that would be the basis for this. I've reached out to a couple groups and I've got some positive response so far. And then after that, it would be getting citizens involved. I guess what I'm envisioning is possibly having from each of the precincts, having like a representative from each of the precincts. So 1 through 6, and that group, once established, would kind of represent their individual precincts. And once those precincts are represented, they would bring things to the table. So for this situation here, you get someone from each of the precincts together, and they would come together to put the whole program together. Then once that's put together, we would go through the different precincts, and I kind of picked 1 and 2 because I'm a little bit more partial to those. So let's go to the next slide. Some of the things, and I just threw some ideas together. It would basically be up to the group to decide what they wanted to do and what they came up with. So installation of approximately 2,000 light fixtures. Attic stock would be basically if one got hit by a car or one got stolen, you'd have some backups. Adrian residents would review and make lighting placement recommendations that would be approved by the city. So basically what I would envision is going through a city map and kind of walking the precincts. One of the things like on a corner, if you've already got a light there, or if there's already existing lights, you don't need to put lights there. So they would look at each individual street and basically put it between the back of curb and the sidewalk. And it would be based on, how many, the trees that are in the area, with possibly being every 2 to 3 houses. I think Kristen Brown told me that there were about 6,300 houses in the city of Adrian. And this would just be on in residential properties. Adrian residents would design the bid specifications, working with the building department, engineering, and finance. So basically, to get residents involved for down the road, they'd be familiar with some of the requirements. If, let's say, they're working on a house or a fence or replacing someone's porch, that's where they would start learning about designing bid specifications. Working with the building department. So with this specific thing, we kind of get people involved with the building department. So basically, if you go into the building department, can we put it, we have to go 36 inches in the ground. Can we just put a 24 by 24 by 24 piece of concrete in the ground? What requirements would we have from the building department? Engineering, we probably have to get a hold of them. That would be more or less working with like snow plows. So basically, we don't want to put it, back a curb. You don't want to put it 6 inches if the city's going to be putting snow up there. You want to at least put it a little bit further back. And then going back to the building department, you might not want to put it down flush with the grass, because if you're going to get 2 feet of snow, you're not going to put it up 2 feet high, but you want to keep it up and off so things aren't rusting. Adrian residents would make the recommendation to the city commission from 3 sample fixtures, just not too complicated. We'd reach out to some of the vendors, kind of tell them what we do. We would probably need a letter from you saying, yes, it's something you guys are interested in. And we could probably get them to send some fixtures out for free. And then I would see putting those fixtures up somewhere as samples. Resident and volunteers would install the fixtures. So basically would be using volunteer trucks and equipment to install the fixtures. And the fixtures, the plan would be to install them between back and curb and the sidewalk. Solar lights, so basically we're not infringing upon the city. They would be installed and maintained by the Fireflies. So basically, if there's a problem, we probably need some room on a website or some type of a work order program. And basically, someone would come out and they would replace the light fixture that need to be replaced. Based on use, everything I've read so far, the battery life is every 3 to 5 years. And then you got toppers every 15 years. So if you put a good base in with a good pole, basically all you can do is replace the top every 15 years or less. Lighting replacement would be limited to residential properties. Let's go to the next slide. So yeah, the community group would develop final specification. Direct burial, we'd have to figure that out. 3-inch universal fiberglass concrete pole, or concrete pedestal mounted pole, steel 3-inch pole. So basically, Marquette has these. Basically, those are concrete in Marquette, and they're probably about 40 years old. That's one option. One of the newer technologies that's come out is fiberglass. And actually some of the fiberglass poles are direct burial. So basically, there's no steel or anything that could rust on that, and that could be encased in concrete. Everything, I just did a cursory review of what was on websites. They do have 3-inch toppers with cast iron housings, and you get glass or polycarbonate globes. There were several different amounts of lumens that you could get. The average, it looked like about 2,600 lumens, would do dusk to dawn programming, and then you could basically program it. So 100% would be like for 3 hours. Then motion sensor would come on after 3 hours, and then 7 hours. Motion sensor for 7 hours, and then it'd be back on 100% for 4 hours in the morning. And going back to the placement, so basically, there's trees, there's different things that, so it's not going to be like you can say you can put one every 5th house. You're going to have to look at what's there to decide where they're going to go. Next slide. Timeline would be going in front of the city commission for approval and community engagement. starting bi-monthly meetings, ordering sample fixtures, monitoring the fixtures just to see how they handle. And then basically, first order lights would be precincts 1 to 2. April to August would be precincts 1 to, I'm sorry, order lights, then install lights. I mean, that would be stuff more down the road. Then maintenance / replacement, and that would be determined based on their life. Commitment from the city, let's go to the next slide. Creation of a Fireflies Commission or a Distressed Properties Commission, up to 60 hours annually for the staff. So basically, if city staff is working on something, we'd have something that would document. So basically, we took 6 hours to unload a truck. We would keep track of those hours, so that we're not saying we're gonna use 60 hours and then all of a sudden in actuality, we're using 1,000 hours of staff. So it's supposed to be minimal impact on the staff. Secure outdoor storage, basically with the lights, we need somewhere to store them. That would more or less be temporary until they would be put up. The plan would be to put all the bases in the ground, and then once the lights were here, to install the light fixtures. And then I put 200 square feet of secure indoor storage. Secure indoor storage would be like, for instance, if we got batteries or toppers that needed to be in more of a secure place that couldn't be outside. Commitments on finances from the city would be $10,000 in September of 2020, January 900, April 2022 600, January 2023 390, and January 2024 would be 100,000. And basically that 100,000 would be annual. And what I'd like to see with that 100,000 is every year, that money, it would be a carryover money. So basically, if it didn't get used 1 year, it could be used the next year. And then just as fixtures need to get replaced, they can get replaced. This isn't a one-person thing. I guess the only way that I would expect the city, if they were even interested in this, would be to come back and have some people who are committed to do this, because I can only do so much. Basically, like I said, you probably need people from each of the precincts, and then I'm thinking probably a minimum of 5 people from each of the precincts just to help out and be part of the committee. And then basically, as the installation parts go, we would have a larger group do the installation. I think you guys saw the presentation for about a week, so I think you have some ideas. I hope it didn't ruin your computer. Michelle's here. I know I sent it and then it went down, but.
Mr. Tokars, how tall are these fixtures?
Haven't figured that part out yet. Probably 12 to 14 feet. And then if you got a 3-foot base, it would make the pole a little bit
And you
longer, a
think,
little bit higher.
it's safe to entrust volunteers to install a fixture that tall?
Yes, yeah. I mean, you'd have more, let's just say.
4 footers and all of that idea to keep those safe, secure, vertical, so on. So I mean, you seriously think that's possible with volunteers? Because that sounds like a professional job to me.
If they decided to go with concrete, that would be a little bit more complicated. The poles are not that.
Yeah, but what you just talked about, pouring a 2 by 2 by 2 footer, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many, 2,600 of them through the city?
I mean, people put in fences, they put in ramps for people, they dig posts for.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of concerns on going back of the gutter or back of the curb sidewalk. There's a lot of stuff that goes on down in there. But then to dig a 2 by 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3 by 3, I'm not sure I've got. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, there might be some more sophisticated DIYs out there than myself, but and then to do on the back of volunteer trucks. And all the resources, I feel like that's kind of opening us up for some loss.
Are there other, I mean, how you guys want to do the light? You want to have people fix houses? I mean, what has the city done with those situations to
Hire a code enforcement
liability? What's that?
I mean, we hired a full-time code enforcement officer that's actually doing a really, really, really good job.
Mhm.
He's really, I mean, we get our packets every 2 weeks. It's up and down, Jake would know, I mean, he's really does a good job, and I know this well myself because I just got inspected by.
Okay,
So-
and that's not what this is.
Sure.
This is
Well, you
more,
asked him what we were doing about blight, and then we're gonna talk about that in a little bit, so that's why I'll answer that question, so.
I was looking more for blight. Let's just say you've got someone, an elderly person who can't do something
Sure.
and the house needs painted. That's where I was looking at that group. And I don't know how right now we currently do that. Now, like I said, there is a 503C that had some interest in this. I mean, right now we've got, I think there is a group out there putting pipes in the ground and flags, you know. So, you know, that it's not something that hasn't been done. I mean, everything would be misdig.
Sure.
Would be done. And some of these poles do not need, and that's where we get with the building department, some of these poles might not need concrete.
Sure.
Basically, all you can do, just like if you put a post in the ground, you might not need to put the concrete, you just put it in the ground. So basically.
I guess this seems like a skilled tradesman kind of project like yourself, where Ken, if you were to go out and say, hey, man, I'm gonna put in 60 footers this weekend with my crew of 5, I think you would do a really good job at it. I don't think there's many Kenco cars in the city of Adrian that could go out and to do this in a timely fashion, because I mean, the number that we're asking for is a lot, and it would make a huge impact. But I think I'm not sure this size of project can be carried out by volunteers.
I have experience with this, and I can
But you just
say,
said you didn't want to lead it.
well, I'm not gonna do it all, I said.
Okay.
So for instance, at Maple Stadium, we had a bunch of volunteers there. And basically, DMP Communications came in and they did all the underground boring. And basically what we did is we had volunteers, they dug all of the holes that where the boxes went in for the poles. So, and we just, I mean, it didn't take that long to do that. Every type of soil is gonna be different.
Sure.
We had volunteers for Maple Stadium, for the team room. We had people helping with the construction. We had laborers helping with the construction. They were putting masonry block up on scaffolding. You know, we're not looking for skilled labor. It's how you put that skilled labor to do the tasks. And not everybody's going to be able to do every task. Most of those poles basically take like 2 people to put a pole once it's in the ground to hold it up.
Sure.
And basically there would be safety things that would be involved. You might have a rope or a string. You could hold it on 3 different, like a sailboat. And
Yeah.
you'd have it, so you would hold it so it wouldn't fall. But there's ways it can get done, yeah, and everybody's gonna have a different skill set.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a way that we could look at this thing, and not bite off the whole thing at one time and say, we're gonna do 3 years worth, but we could start like with precincts 1 or 2, or even 1, and try it, see if that makes sense. Is it workable? Almost like a pilot program. And if it is, move forward from there. If it's not, then nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Well, I mean, it's worth continuing to explore, but I think the first piece is getting the proper labor behind it and commitment from people. Not that, hey, that sounds like a good idea. No, more than that. Like, hey, I'm
Right,
in
I
for
know, I
more.
understand what you're saying.
I mean, because we can buy this stuff. It's easy to buy stuff, right? Checks is easy. But to get these in, working vertical in plumb, I mean, that's where the trick is.
To me, the first piece is determining what liability the city,
Yeah, all these intangibles.
you know, is this something that we can do? Is it against any of our current union contracts? Are we taking labor away from some of our city employees? Because you worked at the schools, and I know that I wasn't allowed to take out the trash in the dance club concession stand because that was contracted by our employees there. So I want to know, you know, what's this like for our current contracts that we have with our employees, and what happens if someone gets hurt? What kind of liability are we going to have? And then let's talk about, I love the idea of citizens getting involved, painting houses, doing all that. But one of the things, when I suggested that a year or 2 ago with our former attorney, was The liability is an issue. You get someone up on a ladder painting a house, they fall, then what?
So what came of that? I mean, did they figure it out? Because, I mean, yeah, I might as well not even be here because I assumed that there was something in place because I've heard talk about getting a community group together to be able to do this stuff, this type of thing.
Well, I think once you get a community group, you know, together, like when you go deal with private property, like say Rotary goes to a fixed income senior citizen to paint a garage, you know, that's private property. When you have, like Commissioner Roberts said, when you have people, you know, putting stakes in the ground, what happens if they throw their back out? Whose liability fall on? Does it fall on city? I mean, because they're doing city work or that's liability is definitely a question for me too. But again, like Commissioner Roberts said again, I love the way that people are getting together and trying to make a difference, but there's a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross before.
Is Mr. Galulu here? Does he maybe have an answer?
Actually, it is.
Good evening, Commissioners, Madam Mayor, and administrators. I'd like to review the terms of the collective bargaining agreement with regard to the question posed by the Commissioner with regard to duties that might be necessary to be performed by city attorneys. Regardless of that issue, anyone who volunteers with regard to any work performed on city property or to city fixtures, so to speak, should be required to sign a full and final release before doing so. Additionally, if somebody is performing work at a third party's house, for instance, that would not subject the city generally to any liability. If that person were injured, he or she would generally look to the property owner for any redress of any injury, things of that nature, unless that person were using, in some circumstances, tools employed or furnished by the city, if that makes sense. So I would suggest strongly that liability concerns are present. I would recommend that anyone performing duties on behalf of the Fireflies sign a full and final release discharging the City of Adrian, the City Commission, and others from any and all liability. It would not be hard to write up.
What could be done. Going back a couple more things, with the electricity, that's why, you do underground and you do power, you don't want anyone touching that, but, low voltage, plug and play, you got someone who puts it in, that's the extent of it.
Can you explain plug and play to me? Because I am not a construction person in any way, shape, or DIY.
I guess.
Sorry, can you explain that to me?
So we work with the building department, figure out what they want for a base. And the plan would be to go through and, if it takes 2 months to do the bases, put all the bases in. In that time you would order. And then basically once the light fixtures are ordered, you put them on the back of the trailer and basically the poles would be there. You'd set the poles in place and you put the topper on top and basically it's ready to go. So basically it'd be programmed down below and just plug and play, it's boom, there's no other work involved. As far as, I think we do a lot of work right now that we contract out. I did think about what would be involved with the city that we would possibly take away from people. And if that is in the requirement, and that would possibly be the maintenance of the lights. Because I think the construction part is all that can be bid out or done by others if we can figure the rest of the pieces out as well.
Craig, if we wanted to just take a stab at kind of a sample program or something, where would you start? City Hall and have arranged to have Mr. Tokar's meet with engineering or building or whoever, just to get some feedback. He's asking us, and Kelly doesn't think that she's qualified to answer this question. I'm less qualified than she is. So I can't hit a nail out of the head. So that's, just throw that out for it.
Yeah, I would say you take an example. One of the specifications that you're proposing, example location, and like you say, meet with the city engineer and building official, what will be required to construct that sort of facility in that location. Pick a particular spot, for example, you can mistake that, and get an idea. All right, well, what's down there? How far is it down? Get a typical example going so that you know what your obstacles are and what the specifications, whether the specification that you're proposing would work, and if not, what the specifications are that would be needed for that application.
Well, I'm obviously only one person. I'm in favor of at least giving it a shot and see what, see if there's anything that we can grasp onto. So, like I said, I'm just one person.
Another thought when it comes to, to Commissioner Watson's concerns, is there any thought about like reaching out and seeing, some of these, concrete companies or construction, anybody that maybe is willing to donate their time, their labor to help that so that it's not residents who don't know what they're doing or, to make that go much quicker and easier and having them be part of that stakeholder group and helping out with that installation as well, just make sure that it's safe.
And that's kind of what we did with Maple Stadium before we did any of the work. We had talked to the contractors ahead of time. Yeah, I mean, if someone's got a post hole digger, a gas powered post hole digger, if you can get a couple volunteers from some companies. We also did at Maple or at Adrian High School. I put together the memorial garden over there over on the west side of the school. I think we used McMunn Brothers and we used Van Ertz. And basically we did that with NHS volunteers. So it's, yeah, definitely, yeah. And as far as reaching out to engineering, I guess what like I said, I can't do this all myself. So I guess what I would need to be able to do is like get a hold of the newspaper and get them to get it out there if they're going to do it, if there is an interest on your part. And then basically I'm not doing it unless I can get some commitments from, I would say at least 15 to 20 people that are going to be involved in it. That would be a minimum. And I could get with that 15, 20 people and say, look, they've given us a test to put up 30 lights. And basically, if we can do that, and we do that successfully, there's a potential that it could possibly improve up to 2,000 lights. See where that goes.
That's a 3-year process.
I put 3 years. I mean, it could be longer. It could be longer. I just put a timeline, that have something on paper as a start. And I can give volunteers till next spring. Push it.
Yeah.
And I would want to get there. I don't want to make a bunch of decisions. I guess what I would want to do is have them figure out what's feasible and what they could possibly do.
The cost is quite high. I know right now we have some extra funds, but we're talking about earmarking some of those funds for other things. So I think when we talk about this, we need to really seriously think about, can we afford this? And maybe we afford it at a much lower level than what you proposed, at least to get it started. But I think before we do anything, we need to get a legal opinion from our lawyer just to make sure it's something we can do before we do anything else.
Yeah, and going back to the lights, I don't want to put something, I'm not gonna put something that's junk up, that's gonna, not gonna last, because then that would make, that might not make it possible. Right now, looking at what's out there, it seemed like $1,000 to $1,400 is seeming where it would run for something that was reasonable for this type of application.
If we consider it in the amount of lights that you want to put up, 2,600, right?
2,000.
2,000. Is it possible to do 1,000 all the way around and then maybe go back through, or would that be? Again, I know construction, so.
Well, I guess before, I guess going through, I want to look at each individual street and what the current lighting situations are and where the placement would be. I said before, I don't want to go every 5th house and just, that's a hard line we're not going to cross. I think everything is going to be unique. Every parcel is going to be unique. We'd have to go through and probably put flags down where we're proposing to put them.
Okay.
So no street would really be the same.
Okay.
Ken, you've come at us for the last 2.5 years or more about the pension deficit. How do you justify this project as opposed to the other ones? When we spend 25, 50, maybe $100,000, talk about adding firefighters, why is this different? Because I am struggling with that component. You want $2 million right now, and you have absolutely fired darts at us for spending far less than this.
Yes, I agree. I guess if that was the case, I'd probably be right now asking for 26 million for the lights. And if I had to weigh it out, I'd rather pay off the pension instead of the lights. That would be more important for me.
Sure.
I just see, I think, we're spending money on the DDA, and, it's like, I don't see special assessment districts getting assigned to the DDA for their lights that they're getting. So I was looking at a way to represent the people who aren't being represented by putting lights in front of their houses.
And you keep saying I. Is this something just you have thought about? Because,
I mean, I am what?
hold on, let me finish. So I thought this, I thought this, I thought this. I've lived here for 30 years now. I have thought as a city resident, at least, and I agree, I haven't been to all areas of the city late at night. I did run the east side when I was training for the marathon, and I ran that regularly. And I had no problem with lighting over there. So I guess my concern is, who do we really, do the residents of the city really want additional lights all over? Maybe they would rather have money spent on the pension deficit, or maybe they'd rather have money spent on a light coordinator, on a new Parks and Rec department. Because I'm just curious, have the rest of the commission heard that lighting is an issue?
I've heard it at the A3 coalition meetings.
Okay.
Yes, it has been. In fact, they brought in, right when I became mayor, at one of the very first meetings I went to, actually, I don't think I was mayor yet when I went. And Chief Emmerich was there, and he was talking about how the lighting had made a difference in one area, since because they put up those LED lights, so they're pretty bright. Some were complaining because they were really blasting into their homes. But there was a whole discussion after that about that the other areas need lighting, and that we have security issues in our area. There were residents there that were saying that they wish they had better lighting. So I hadn't heard that.
Because it's not something we get emails about. Now, tomorrow,
Right.
we'll probably
Right.
get a dozen of them because we're talking about it. But I was just wondering, because I haven't been approached about additional lighting.
And I haven't either. I will say, and I'm gonna go back to the school districts, and part of my job there was with transportation. And I did a lot of driving around the city. And I just seeing kids being out, they're out there 5:30 in the morning catching buses. And, it is difficult to see. It is difficult to see out there. So I don't have other people, but that's the perspective when I say that's from my experience of driving through the city.
But also, I've been here almost 6 years now, and like, again, like Mr. Roberts, I've never gotten an email about lighting ever.
Mhm.
So when you're proposing to spend roughly $2 million on a project, usually, numbers talk, and then if the AP coalition has an issue with lighting in their neighborhoods, they should get a hold of the city commission as a whole, not just the mayor, because I've never heard about it.
Well, they never complained. I just haven't
Right.
at the meeting, that's why.
Right.
So.
So I guess, that's the problem I have with a lot of things is that people don't know who to talk to, and it's us when it comes to stuff like that. And so I struggle with spending that kind of money when I haven't had a complaint about it, me personally, as one individual elected member, but again, I love the idea, but again, if you spend that kind of money, it's like, let's get rally some troops. And like, again, what Commissioner Roberts said, we probably get a lot after night, which is fine, but
If you get a lot of backlash against it, I might want to do it then.
well, not necessarily backlash,
No.
but I think if it was something of that kind of concern, I think that I would have heard about it. you know, especially me having my business and being acceptable to the public, they will definitely let me know, and I've never heard it about lighting in the neighborhoods. So, not saying it's not, they're not saying there's not a problem, but I've never personally had an email, you know, and complain about it.
I mean, maybe we could put on the website just a quick survey monkey and
So,
just
poll or something.
have people, you know, people say, you know, do you think we need lighting? And just take it from there. And if, you know, you get 60% say, no, we're fine, then, you know, and go do something else. I mean,
Problem
it's-
with surveys like that, you don't know if they're city residents, you don't know if they're completing it 10 times, you know, surveys are very, unless it's done correctly, survey is a survey, you take it with a grain of salt.
I agree, but we use them all the time at City Hall. We use surveys.
You
I
use
know,
them
and
all the
I
time
agree.
where?
Huh?
You use them all the time where?
At City Hall, we've, for different things, Survey Monkeys, you know, whether it was for the master plan, whether else, we've used it.
We
I
have-
agree with you wholeheartedly with what you're saying. They're no better than the question that is written and the people who respond. There's, you know, but we use them. And we use them to justify things. And I too heard, and of course, it's at the same time the mayor heard the concerns from the A3 coalition. I was on that meeting as well, so we're at that meeting. So at that, but
Thank you.
thank you.
Our next item tonight is a discussion about the potential to have a blight coordinator's position. Talked about this in the past. The next steps were to bring back a proposed job description. Talk to you about, see if you're interested in creating such position. So we had a draft of one in your packet. As we envisioned it, it's maybe a little bit different than when we first talked about it. It's more of a support position for the code enforcement officers, making sure that they're not doing paperwork, administrative activities, data entry, things that can be avoided to maximize their time in the field, but also inclusive of public outreach piece, making this person the coordinator of, you know, other services that folks who are caught up in the blight enforcement process might need, that might be available out in the community. So we did go ahead and, as you saw in my weekly report, score this position since we were doing the Parks and Rec director position anyway. We'd have to score it again in this compensation committee. Made any changes to this, but as it's scored relatively, I'd say affordably, in the 41.7, 52.3 range annually. So that's total cost, probably around not more than $80,000 a year for the position. Open discussion, thoughts on whether or not this is something that like us to explore further. I think it could be a benefit to our club.
We discussed this with our new community development director, and is she feeling like this is something that, you know, is she to a point where she feels like this is really what we need?
She is on the meeting tonight. We can hear from her. She did draft the majority of this. I made a few tweaks to it. But Angie, thoughts on how this could help your operation? All the time?
Yeah, good evening, commissioners. Yes, in talking with our staff, a lot of their time is spent on the administrative side, sending out letters, contacting property owners, and especially with rentals, there's a 3-year cycle, but there's always a time where we have to send out notification for, to register and then to do follow-up and then to do inspections. So that takes a lot of his time, which takes time away from him actually doing inspections, not only with rental, but in other areas. So this blight coordinator we envision would be an individual that can keep track of those registrations and notifications, helping them to issue notice of violations once they've already done initial inspection, as well as coordinating with some of the nonprofits and the resources that are in the community and in the county. There seem to be so many different organizations that some get community development block grant funds for home improvement. Some do have volunteer groups that help people. So this person would try and tie all that together and really help us track the progress that the inspectors are making out in the field.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I'll shoot first from the hip. And Greg and the mayor, remember, we were in those blight committee meetings and then we made it, pretty much of just, me personally, I'd like to see 2 guys in the field and 1 person pushing papers, emails, correspondence with citizens. So if the commission was to go this route, are we gonna be, so it'd be Jen and Glenn and Jake both in the field then, and then they will take over their scheduling, registering, all that, because I really, really like what Jake's doing. I really like the traction that he's got going on when it comes to rentals. Because again, it's like, me finding out personally, it's like rental houses haven't been inspected sometimes at all, ever. And, and so I like that component. If I can be assured that the 2 guys we had that were, that are professionals in enforcing our code are in the field full time. And, so that'd be my only hang up on this. Again, this is one of the things that we all care about, when it comes to blight, but in order for me to support this, I'd have to be assured that we're gonna have 2 full-time guys in the field.
Yeah,
Because if not, I don't want 2 of our employees pushing papers. I like to see 2 so we can get some serious traction on what we got going on, so.
that's exactly the idea behind it, that we free them up to be in the field.
Sure.
All day long.
Okay, well, from my perspective, when Commissioner Cassavary brought forth the idea of a blight coordinator, we did not have a community development director at that time. And the idea was, in that particular situation, we were going to make Tamaris Hennigan the blight coordinator and give her the supervisory responsibility for the 2 code enforcement officers. We have a code enforcement, we have a community development director now who's taking care of business. I'm still in favor of a blight coordinator, but I'm in favor of one that is going to actually supervise the 2 code enforcement officers and drive the blight problem right out of the city. Now, that's not going to happen today. That's not going to happen tomorrow. That's not going to happen 5 years from now. But if we just leave it to the code enforcement group, who is not paying attention to this on a day after day after day basis and supervised by someone whose sole responsibility is that, I don't think we'll ever make the progress that we want to make.
I'm not following your comments. Angie,
You don't?
wouldn't community development be leading all 3 of these individuals?
Sure, if
Yes.
that Lightfoot coordinator is in fact the one responsible for the 2, I don't want another clerical person on the 3rd floor. We don't need another clerical person. What we need is somebody that is specifically charged with supervising the code enforcement officers, period. And that person can report to Angie or.
Why build another layer in the structure when you have somebody capable of leading those 2 individuals who just came online?
Okay, so you're talking about hiring somebody that's going to do secretarial work. And maybe
I wouldn't say secretary. This is way more than secretarial. Administrative work, yeah.
Okay, administrative work. Angie is going to be responsible for building, zoning, and planning, we need somebody whose sole and only job is to clean up blight. And I've always, we've said we were gonna do it, we've pledged we were gonna do it, and now we're backing off of that. I don't think you're gonna get it done the way that's being proposed.
Okay, I do. I think.
Okay,
this
well, we
is- yeah,
disagree.
Yeah.
That's not the first,
No,
not the
I just
first
wanted to understand your statement
Okay.
before I said I disagree with you. on
Okay,
it.
that's fine.
And I think that those three individuals reporting to Angie, is totally acceptable, that she's not overloaded with individuals. And that role, community development director, has an overall view of activity in the city. Putting somebody just to manage those two, I don't think we're gonna give it. I don't think it's gonna get any bang without seeing the bigger picture.
Okay.
Well, that's my point of when it comes to like, because Jake and I were emailing today back and forth, like somebody, there's a layer there that he doesn't have to deal with that. He can go continue doing his rental inspection. That's why I want to be assured that we have 2 full-time guys in the field.
Sure.
That's all, if I can get that,
But putting that person in a leadership role over those two individuals, all of a sudden takes away time that he can
Sure.
communicate with Al, landowner in the city of Adrian. And it puts him in a management role where Angie could do the management side of things, and those three can work harmoniously.
so essentially, I mean, and this note, but Gordon wasn't in those blight committee meetings, and he didn't understand, like, or he didn't hear what Glenn and Jake said when it comes from administrative side, how much time it takes to do all that stuff. So, and it's significant. And that's why I chimed into those subcommittees. I said, listen, it's like, I don't want our full-time code guys or gals or whoever pushing papers. That's like having a donut cutter wait on customers. No, you pay them more, you want them to actually produce a product, and the other can fall in line. So, if I'm assured that I'm gonna get 2 full-time, employees in the field, and then the person we hired, they can take away some of that administrative stuff and email, then
And I know, like, we get a lot of repeat complaints, and maybe not repeat, like, maybe this was a couple years ago, even before I was on the city commission as mayor, but so like, they'll be like, well, we already dealt with this, we already complained about this person, we'll get a complaint, I send it to Greg, and, he sends it on, and I get a response, and they're like, oh, yep, well, we go to this property about once every year, it'd be nice to have that follow-up. Like, okay, now they've become like repeat offenders, we're gonna keep checking on them, so we're not just waiting till the problem becomes bigger, like it's being followed through, and I feel there's just no way right now, those two can do that follow through right now and like try to keep track and all that. That's where I feel this position is very integral, is to keep, hey, did you go check on this property? Did you follow up to make sure, hey, like, it's been so long, this is a repeat, things like that, with that database, with that tracking, with a lot of those pieces that are written in here that Angie wrote in here. I do feel that is actually a lot of the problem from talking to Greg and Glenn, is a lot of it is just repeat, and that there just wasn't follow up to make sure that there's, not slipping right back. They fix it and then they go right back, and they have the same problem again, and they fix it and they go right. That's what happens actually quite a bit. And just to have that follow up is, I think, a big part of the battle for blight.
well, I think the problem we have is there's a significant amount of properties that's never been inspected. If not, or they've been inspected, it's been a decade or so to be inspected. I texted you on the weekend. There's egress laws, there's all kinds of laws that the inspectors of these houses haven't been inspected, so they have a lot of problems. So you're asking questions for contractors that they want to know, like what's the size of egress, stuff that they got to answer, right? So there's there's somebody that can have that knowledge and education to understand that, it smooths the process, and then those guys aren't diverted to sit at a desk and answer emails.
And even I'd like to see this position be that piece. There's been several of recent, several emails or phone calls where, they're like, hey, my grandmother or my aunt or my, elderly uncle or whatever it might be, like they just got a citation, they have to get this fixed. They're, very low income, we don't know what to do. And, and I will say, when I've taken it to Greg and, he takes it on to Glenn usually, and Glenn's always like, yep, they are in that low income, and we need to do something to try to help. But there needs to be somebody there. It's not, we can't just always rely on Glenn's memory of that. Do you know what I mean? Like, we need that database filled up, and we need somebody there to coordinate volunteer groups, but also just to be that person to assist, so it's not coming to Greg or me or one of the commissioners, all the time, because they don't know who to go to. That's the problem. Do you know what I mean? They really don't know who to go to. And so if we get this person, they're like, oh, I can go to this person, that I know it gets out to the code enforcer. So whether it's a complaint or whether it's an issue that they can't afford it or whatever. So that coordination, happens too, to help those people out. But just, I do feel this is a very important piece. I really do.
Well, that's number 13 on the job description.
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
There's a lot of houses in the city that need a lot of attention. And again, it's, if you cite a house for 10 or 20 violations, I mean, that's a lot of questions got to be answered. You have a lot of contractors coming in, you have the concrete guy, the roof guy, window people, and like, who's gonna, I mean, you want to pay our guys that have the knowledge and education to answer those, or do you want to pay somebody that strictly?
I think Angie has the leadership skills to take care of, like, overseeing everything, and I think part of it, Gordon, is how we market people toward that position too. I think that we need to get some community engagement with this position and let the community know, because I think we all get emails about properties in this community on the daily. So I think marketing this position and letting people know what we're doing with Blight will help a lot, because there'll be somebody identifying and talking to constituents in the community. Plus, the fact that we are going head to head with this and we're looking for community engagement to help the person that can afford to paint or whatever. I think it's twofold with marketing this position. Does that make sense? So that we're getting cleanup done, people are getting engaged and ready to help, and we have a go-to person for our community to talk to about this. So.
What I don't want to have happen is the go-to person says, I'll get back to you after I talk to the code enforcement officer, and then you never hear from them again, or it's 6
That's
weeks
not better
before
than,
you.
you know.
Yeah, so you need to, you better have that follow-up mechanism. So that, because what we don't want, at least I don't want, is 2 code enforcement officers in the field getting called back into the office or getting knocked off their job for an hour to deal with the problem that didn't get back, didn't get taken care of the first time. So as long as you.
Isn't that a job performance matter then?
I'm sorry?
Isn't that a job performance
Yeah, but
matter?
we don't do that here at City Hall.
Okay, I mean, it's just accountability.
Yeah, I
Accountability
couldn't
needs to be-
agree with you more.
Yeah, so.
That one you and I
so-
agree with about a lot of things.
So.
Thank you. No, but yeah, so convince me, I'm good, we'll move forward with this thing. I'll take a closer look at the job description. If I have any other comments, I'll provide them, and I'm sure we'll all do the same thing, and we'll put it on the regular agenda and go on.
Mr. Goss, I know what you're saying here. I get it. I understand what you're saying is that that's our job as elected body to set the vision, and he has to carry it out. Simple as that. And if he doesn't carry it out, that's a whole nother issue, right? So
I would guess.
again, and so it's our job. If we're gonna prioritize this, then we prioritize it. It's not our job to get involved in day-to-day stuff, but I'll tell you what, if we don't get production, that's one other issue. So this provides another layer to get, again, 2 full-time people in the field to start tackling some of this stuff, because we got some major problems out there.
Well, and as today's email from a city resident showed, I'm sure most of you probably sent it on to Greg or Angie or whoever, and we have an answer already, and it took a couple of hours to get that answer. It may not be the answer that that city resident wants, because the legal process takes time, but we have an answer. We have, we've done as a city what we can do at this point. And so right now, the process is working.
Is there something where that's all recorded, Angie or Greg? I don't know who talked to me about that. Is there someplace where the SNA where all those complaints are recorded, so that when our when the blight coordinator gets a phone call about a property, that they can go right to the look. They don't have to call the code enforcement officers and ask, is there some place that's all recorded that they can go to for an answer?
Yeah, that's BSNA, and it's meant to be a one database for information about every property, both in terms of construction and code enforcement. Today, when I answered Mr. Stegg's email, that's what I went to, BSNA. Those things were attached in there, the citations were attached in there, those violations. We're working on making sure everything gets attached to that property file, so that it's a one-stop shop for being able to look up the status of the property.
Because I was lukewarm to this. I'm sorry, Andy. I was lukewarm to this at first, because again, I didn't want another, like, say, clerical person either, but like, that's why I made it very clear. If I can be assured that I have 2 full-time enforcement officers in the field, to keep getting the momentum we got going on, and I'm okay with it.
And I appreciate what you're saying, Commissioner Goss, about, we're never going to get on top of it. My initial reaction was, what happens when we are on top of it? And now we have someone who doesn't have enough work to do. We've hired another code enforcement officer. If we hire for this person, what if in 3, 4, 5 years?
God, we should only have that problem.
Well, and I thought of that, and I'm like,
So I
okay,
know, you're right.
what happens then? And I guess maybe I am more of a glass half full person. I hope that that's going to be the case.
I'd love to have that happen.
So you mean like if we combat it to the fact of
Or
where
just
we
knock
have
it down.
3 employees, full-time employees, we added 2 new ones, and what are we gonna do if there's not enough work for them?
Yes, in 5 years.
But the rental cycles, it's a
The rental
3-year
cycle,
cycle.
Yeah.
So,
Right, rental cycle is always going to happen, but hopefully the rental cycle, at some point, once they realize we're serious about this, they're gonna walk in, they're gonna look around and go, hey, it's great, they're gonna walk out.
Right.
Instead of, they can't get a hold of them, they can't get a hold of them, 3 notices, oh, okay, we do finally get a rental, or we get an inspection, and you've got 10 things, and that constant, follow-up. Hopefully, at some point, that constant follow-up isn't going to have to happen, because they have completed all of the stuff that needs to happen in the next couple of years. Am I like totally missing?
No, I get
No,
what you're saying.
I understand. You got it.
But it's
That's
a problem to
my-
have, and we can.
Yeah.
I'll
We
be
don't know.
wrong on
I
that.
just don't know.
Problem to have.
We don't know.
They can come visit me at Oakwood.
I know, I'm just saying, when you started talking about not being done,
Come on, Corey, stay with us, buddy.
For a while.
I'm hoping that they make themselves out of a job.
Well, there's a lot, I mean, like I said, like when I got my last inspection, like there's I requested the previous inspections cited and corrected. No history. And my tenants lived there for 10 years, never once. So that, and not anything to do with Glenn, but that's just, I mean, there's just so much to do right now.
Right,
A lot to do, a
a
lot.
lot to do.
Craig, is there anything we can do about the system, I guess we call it now revise, where somebody files a complaint? It goes to look to find out what happened to the complaint, but they can't find it. I mean, they have to talk to Michelle, they have to talk to somebody to find it,
I mean,
to follow up. Well, it used to be see, click, fix, then it was engaged, Adrian.
Well, there is, as I understand it, I'm not the most knowledgeable on the system, but as I understand it, there is whoever the complaint is assigned to has an ability to enter a response on the site. And honestly, that's part of what this job is supposed to be as well, is making sure that all those complaints are tracked and responded to.
Now you're just trying to make me happy. That would be great. It really would, because the complaint is that I'm getting is, hey, I put it in the system, and I can't find it. And the answer I get is, well, it doesn't go back into the system until the person, the code enforcement, whoever is working on it gets it done, or puts it back in the system. So that's,
Well, yeah, I mean, sometimes there's confusion, and that's sort of a aspect of that system, as I understand it, that if it's still open, you can't necessarily tell, right? It may be being worked on, but until it's closed out, the system doesn't show you the response.
But this person would be in
This
charge of
person-
connecting with.
God,
that
you tell me this person's gonna do it, I'm on board.
Well, at least
That's what it
connecting
sounds
with the
like.
resident, hopefully they have to put in
Yes.
some kind of identifying information and saying, we received your concern. I have sent it to Glenn or Jake or, and they are dealing with it or whatever.
Well, it's like today, I emailed Jake, and then Jake got with Tony, and then Tony gave him some information and emailed back. How much time did that take? When he could have been doing an inspection, how much time did that take?
Are we good with this, or do we need more discussion at the next meeting?
No,
Because
I'm
I need
good.
to
I'm
get
good.
public comment.
Progress.
I'm good.
Okay,
Be public.
all right, at this time, we will do public comment. Just for the record, please state your name and address.
Hello, Gene Ramos, 422 South Winter Street. You've heard that 1,000 times at this point. So first over the Blackboard, I want to make sure that you make it clear to them that they're going to be trying to outreach the community. That means sometimes they can't just be in their office on the phone. Sometimes they have to actually go out there. Sit at a meeting, that might not be a time to occur. Maybe you have to be outside in the winter. Sometimes that's where you meet the community at. Secondly, with the lights. Yes, A3 has talked about this. There was a big meeting that two of the commission remember. And then there were a couple of other times that we talked about it. Apparently, no one remembers those. And we complained about it. I also happen to walk around at night pretty regularly. Pretty much anywhere that's not downtown, the night lighting is kind of bad. And on top of that, we kind of expect when we talk to one commissioner that they go and talk to the other commissioners. I'm assuming that you guys work together. Now, also, I would hope that's part of what this white coordinator would do is talk to the residents and then report back to the commission about things that they need to know. Because there are things that, yeah, you could find in paperwork, but also would be nice if you had some conversations. That's all for now. I'll plug in more after the regular meeting.
Hearing no more public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, meet you at the regular meeting.
No, yeah, that's okay. Okay. In our house, what we call it, back in the day.
Yeah, right.
We're not having a second show.
With the addition of punching ball, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Say that?
Revised resolution.
Revised resolution adding punching ball?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Guess where I'm going.
I call to order the Adrian City Commission meeting for August 2nd, 2021. If everyone would please rise for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Howell,
Present.
Commissioner Roberts,
Present.
Commissioner Watson,
Present.
Commissioner Strayer absent, Commissioner Castleberry,
Present.
Commissioner Goss,
Present.
all commission members present with the exception of Commissioner Strayer.
May I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Strayer from tonight's meeting?
So moved.
Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Watson. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Goss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath.
Yes.
The motion to excuse Commissioner Strayer is approved by 6 yes, 0 no vote.
May I get a motion to approve the minutes of the July 26, 2021 special meeting?
So
Move
moved.
to approve the minutes. Gauss? You can't
Support.
talk.
I have a motion from Commissioner Gauss with a second from Commissioner Roberts. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
minutes approved by unanimous vote.
May I get a motion to pay the vouchers as presented?
Move to pay the vouchers as presented.
Support Castleberry.
I have a motion from Commissioner Roberts with a second from Commissioner Castleberry. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
vouchers approved by unanimous vote.
At this time, we are going to have a very special proclamation, which is why we have so many in attendance tonight. We wish it could always be this fun and lively every night for our city commission meetings. So I don't know who wants to come up. If you all want to come up here and get presented, I don't know how you want to do that. Are the coaches here?
Everyone's.
Okay, this team, I'm going to read your proclamation. Whereas the 2021 Bone Pool Wave Runners swim team went undefeated this year, and whereas the team faced challenges early this year due to Bone Pool being temporarily out of service, resulting in the Wave Runners practicing and competing at other area pools, and whereas 112 youth of all ages competed this year, excelling at every event and breaking several records, and whereas the Bone Pool Wave Runners ended the season winning the 2021 OMSSL championship over the Green Hill Gators, who have long held the title. Now, therefore, I, Angela Sword Heath, Mayor of the City of Adrian, Michigan, do hereby congratulate the 2021 Bone Pool Wave Runners on their great accomplishments. Congratulations. Just so you know, too, you have several commissioners here and myself included that all of our children have come through as wave runners. So we are especially proud of you because we're a part of your family too. So congratulations and great job.
Good job.
All right, thank you.
Yep, we'd like to do a team picture. I know you already have. Yeah, face this way towards your parents and.
like to remind you guys all that you can be up here someday as a part of government too.
You are welcome back to a city commission meeting whenever you want to come. I'm gonna- I'm waiting a couple more minutes just so we can hear. All right, I'll go ahead. May I get a motion to amend the agenda to add resolution R 21-147 from Community Development, which is a revised resolution regarding mobile food vending to add Blue Jean Ball to the special events?
So moved. Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Halt to amend the agenda to add resolution R 21-147. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes,
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Resolution I'm sorry, the motion to amend the agenda to add resolution R 21-147 to revise the mobile vending to add
Blue Jean Ball.
Blue Jean Ball to the
Special events.
special events is approved by an all yes vote.
Moving on to the regular agenda. Resolution R 21-146 is from the city clerk. It is a resolution to approve the transfer of the commercial marijuana facilities permit for Quality Roots Incorporated, permit number DP 20-007 to Weisberger Ventures II LLC for the facility located at 1032 South Main Street, Adrian, Michigan, 49221. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
move to adopt the resolution.
Being that I only got a motion and not a second, it is stricken. Yes, it is dead. And so resolution R 21-146 died. Moving on to resolution R 21-147. It is from Community Development and it is a revised resolution regarding mobile food vending to add Blue Jean Ball to special events. May I get a motion to adopt the resolution?
Move to adopt the resolution. Support.
Are there any public comments?
Good evening. I'm Sarah Harriman with the Boys and Girls Club of Lenawee, and we are grateful that you added this item to the agenda for today and grateful that you would look to potentially approve our special event and add it to the special events. We're looking to have mobile vending as our caterer for the Blue Jean Ball for this year, so we won't be selling to the general public. It's simply to use mobile food trucks as our caterer for the event. So that's what we're looking to do and hoping you'll support that endeavor as you probably know, as many of you have attended over the years, Blue Jean Ball raises nearly 20% of the revenue for the Boys and Girls Club each year. It's an important part of our budget, and the event is certainly an important part of the way that we raise awareness about the club. And we have nearly 2,000 registered members, most of them youth from the city of Adrian. So we appreciate all that you do and hope you'll be able to support this tonight.
I have nothing, well, first of all, I'm Joaquin Ramos, 422 South Winter. You've heard that 1,000 times. So first of all, I don't have any problem. In fact, I encourage events. I like that. But I am a little concerned about, yet again, something being added to the agenda that wasn't there already. No, it happens sometimes, but I'm just going to throw a little extra spotlight on it because it's happened a couple times recently. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Dave Habecker, and I'm here to update a situation I first brought before the commission 5 years ago. It involves a plug sewer that has rendered my.
This can come up during regular public comment, okay?
Pardon me?
This public comment is just on this resolution. We're gonna have regular public comment in just 1 minute, and then you can present it that.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no more public comment, are there any commissioner comments? Commissioner Watson?
Thank you, Mayor. As president of the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club, I am hugely in support of this change. Just to give a little background story and to put Joaquin's concern at ease a little bit. Originally, we were scheduled to be in the farmer's market and found that that's part of the DARA. And so we could not serve any kind of adult beverages or alcoholic beverages inside the DARA. So that's when we scrambled to find another location, which put us out on Balmy Street. And with tickets having gone on sale on Monday, a week ago Monday, it made it a very, very time-sensitive matter to make sure that we had a secured facility or a location. And so that's why it got put onto this agenda in the way that it did. But back to the event, as Sarah said, this is very important to community awareness as well as fundraising for the club. And the club does reach deep into our community. And it's part of our community now, having been in force for over 20 years. This is something that's very important to us.
I have a motion from Commissioner Watson with a second from Commissioner Halt. Roll call, please.
Mayor Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Halt,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Watson,
Yes.
Commissioner Gauss,
Yes.
Commissioner Castleberry.
Yes.
Motion to approve R2147 to revise the resolution regarding mobile food vending to add Blue Jean Ball to special events is approved by an all yes vote.
At this time now, it'll be public comment for general public comment. Please, we will do inside the city chambers first. And then once everyone inside the city chambers is finished with public comment, I will open it up for those of you on Zoom that may want to comment. Just for the record, remember there is a 3-minute time limit, and please state your name and address.
Hello, Joaquin Ramos, 422 South Winter. I warned you that I'd be here earlier this meeting and last week. So here I am. So I am the chair of A3, and I would like to invite all of you to come to A3 Second Fridays. Of course, that is on Second Friday, so August 13th at 6 p.m., this time at Dunlap Park. We will probably be jumping around to a couple of other parks as well as we're doing Second Fridays, as we're trying to represent everyone within our area. And to represent our residents, we do have to go and be present. So that's part of what's going on here. And again, I invite all of you and I invite the public to come to A3 Second Fridays. Dunlap Park, August 13th, 6 p.m. And also, not quite related, but just to throw it out there,
again, I understand Watson, but no, it doesn't even put my mind at ease. I understand things happen. I'm not gonna pick on you about it, but it's not the only thing that's come up like that. I understand there's been other things that have been time sensitive as well, but still, it doesn't look good just throwing things onto the agenda, though I understand it is needed sometimes. I'm not gonna pick on you any further, and I hope to see you at Second Fridays. Thank you.
I'm Carolyn Marr, 148 North Scott Street. I'd like to express my frustration with the length of time which has passed without a sale of the city property to the Lenawee Humane Society. I'll present my ideas on why it should be done as soon as possible. The citizens of Lenawee County are animal lovers, and they want a new building to house the animals. The volunteers would not have to walk the dogs on an inadequate sidewalk along a very busy street like they presently do on Beecher Street. The city would get the money for the sale, and a bit of unproductive property in the city would then be very productive. Having the Humane Society in a new building at this new location would encourage other businesses, related or not, to open there. The project would encourage other companies to come to Adrian and see how progressive we are in our approach to the humane treatment of animals and their caretakers. Many jobs would be filled by the construction. Other workers may have to come to Adrian to fill some of these jobs and decide to stay. This is a nonprofit whose very existence here is a benefit to the community as far as our reputation is concerned. Since the city, Humane Society, citizens, and animals will all benefit, I am asking you all to investigate any problems or obstacles and fix them as soon as possible.
Good evening. I'm Dave Habecker, a resident of Tecumseh, Michigan, and own rental property here within the city. I'm here to update you on a situation that I brought to the commission 5 years ago. It involves a plug sewer system that rendered my rental property at 305 East Walmy uninhabitable for the past 6 years. A catch basin, the clean out point for my property, is located underneath the cement floor of a neighboring garage and does not flow. It's plugged and multiple properties, including the Rebicycle shop, are connected to it. The space, complete with a city-created access hole in the garage, has been tolerated by the city since the 70s. When I first brought my problems to the city with the plug basin, they said they didn't know where my sewer went. They later provided a document that did show that they know where the sewer went, a diagram listing it. They offered up some vague explanation that the basin experienced some conversion in 1947 and is now considered a private system. No longer their concern. I don't even know what considered a private system means. Private sewer systems are well documented with legal documents. To date, I found nothing to support the city's claims, but much to support mine based on my own documents. The city's offered nothing to rebut this. They just shout it's private louder each time. I solicited the DEQ for their opinion on this, and they said that they would have to speak with the city. They did, and concluded that the system does in fact meet the city's ordinance for a private system. I requested a FOIA of this conference call, and the FOIA disclosed that the city misled the DEQ. The primary misleading fact was the city applied a 1972 definition to their 1947 event. I doubt very much that that was disclosed. The minutes also list 3 options that the city could take, none of which I believe were reported to the commission because the utilities department decided on their own 4th option. It's private, go away. My losses at that time were $15,000. Today they are approaching $100,000 and climbing. The city is leveraging the fact I have absolutely no means of correcting a situation that exists underneath the neighbor's garage. They are simply waiting me out till I create my new routing to their sewer system at my expense. The same leverage is currently being applied to the Rebicycle shop next door, who is now experiencing problems with the same block basin. I asked the commission directly re-engage the DEQ correcting these misrepresentations and see how they respond. I asked the city solicit longtime employees who would know of the city's historic involvement in this catch basin. After all, it was the city that saw a need to cut an access hole inside the garage, and they were the only ones that knew the basin existed. I'd like to thank you for your time and attention. My original text was much longer, but you will all find it in your inbox. I have some document packets that I'd be happy to leave with you. And I apologize for leaving you off the list, Mr. Elliott. I did not see you at the commissioner website.
Thank you.
Hi, Kara Snyder, 422 South Winter. I'm just informing those who do not know that I am doing a charity event with support of the Humane Society and the All About Adrian Coalition. I'm on the board of both. I will be doing it in front of Socorro's office, Hilltop Counseling, this first Friday. We're calling it Period Packs. We are giving out purses and bags with pads, tampons, ladies' necessities. So if you know anyone in need or anyone who'd like to donate, this is what I'm doing. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to open it up for public comment on Zoom. So if anyone would like to comment on Zoom, please state your name and address, and you should be able to see the time on your screen as well. I don't see anyone unmuting, so I am going to move on to commissioner comments. Are there any commissioner comments? Commissioner Watson?
Just real quick, very fun for me to see the wave runners come through here, but it also helps drive home the point to us as a commission of how important that swimming pool is to our community. And you know, those 112 kids, of which, I don't know, there's probably 40 of them here. That's a big part of their summer, as it just wrapped up on Saturday. So just keep that in mind as we further our discussions, please.
I would also just like to comment in addressing the Humane Society that we are making progress. Unfortunately, MDOT had told us that the entrance had to be in a different location, so that changed a lot of factors, and there was some continuing issues to figure out amongst us, but we do meet and we've been working on it, and they needed to take something to the board last month, and we were ready to present it at the beginning of July, and they wanted some more time at the Humane Society, and then we were ready to present it again tonight, and they wanted a little more time to tweak some things and have some more things looked over. So it is happening. It's just been a very slow process because of being land that is being developed from a farm field to industrial property. So that has been some of the issues and working on that. But I just want to assure you it is happening. And it is progressing. All right, may I get a motion to adjourn?
So move. Support.
I have a motion from Commissioner Halt with a second from Commissioner Watson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.